Hi, everybody. One third of the season down. Corstian on your left screen. I'm on your right screen. We're your co-hosts for the Modern Mission Podcast, Football Edition. Welcome back, guys. I'm like riding high. You know how I feel about Caleb Williams. He is absolutely diming it up. What a performance. Cole Kmet, 2 touchdowns. Keenan Allen, people thought he was washed. Oh, yeah? 2 touchdowns right back at you. That Bears offense looks amazing. The Jaguars look like they're in shambles. And I don't think Doug Peterson is going to have a job when he gets back to the U.S. if they lose the Patriots. So it is looking on thin ice. Two major trades have happened in the NFL. Love to cover it. Of course, yeah, I saw a clip of Bo Nix describing what went wrong on a Troy Franklin incompletion where he had it in his hands. And just the maturity from him was really impressive. Off the charts. Like, this is a guy who was just yelling at Sean Payton on the sideline. Anyhow.
Yeah.
I think his age doesn't bother me. I'm really happy. Javonte Williams looks like he's coming into his own. And we got a Kamani Vidal sighting. First touch,
Yeah.
26-yard touchdown. That was not what I was expecting out of him.
Yeah, it was good.
So, and any Bo Nix stats you have, like now that we're 1/3 of the season down?
Yeah, I'm pretty happy to see where he's at. I think just kind of the big issue with the Broncos, at least, is the lack of skill position players. Like, at the tight end position, like the whole expectation was Greg Dulcich was going to be the guy. He struggled with both injury and then just like overall like how good of a player he's just been, and then it's like Troy Franklin has been getting more touches, so that's good. Deshaun Bailey has also looked pretty good, but it's like outside of Sutton, it's kind of like a mixed bag of it's not great, and then obviously the running back room has left a lot to be desired. Obviously, we've seen like the Jaleel McLaughlin highlight bits where he scores the touchdowns in like unlikely situations, but outside of that, their average yards per carry has been around like 3 to 3.3, which is not quite the number you want.
Yeah, hopefully you see improvement for Javonte Williams. Like, I know he's coming off an ACL, but that was like 2 years ago, I think. So like, you're hoping he like starts to ramp it up. I think he's getting a little bit better week by week. So you hope that continues. Yeah, I agree. I'm honestly shocked how fluid the Bears looked. Like just offensively the past 2 weeks. I didn't expect it to happen this quickly. And the fact it's happening behind a still problematic offensive line is telling. Like all 4 teams in the NFC North, this is just going on in mass media. But like everybody's obsessing over the fact that like they're all 4-win teams. And you got a 5-0 Minnesota facing a 4-1 Detroit. That is going to be a fun battle. Probably.
Yeah, were you able to? Oh yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just about to talk about Aiden Hutchinson. Like I was about to turn off the TV after I saw that. That was a nasty injury. I don't like. I'm just in my head right now. It's just a picture of his leg bending, like around the offensive tackle's leg. I didn't even think legs could do that, and it's nasty. Yeah. I do not recommend you watch this, guys. Most of viewers are probably going to go back and watch it anyhow. But yeah, that was just. I feel awful for the guy, even though I'm a Bears fan. Like that's just. He was going to be Defensive Player of the Year at the pace he was at. The amount of sacks he put up was insane. And they were up by 28 at that point. It was just like I get it. I'm not going to say you should have taken him out of the game, but like that was just such a freak play that like and it was the beginning of the third quarter too. Like that's the Cowboys could have mounted a comeback given like they tend to play better in the second half. And Detroit's had problems closing out games from last season. So I get playing your starters at that point. But that was just such a freak play that's like, you don't want to see that down. Like that's definitely going to impact the NFC like standings, like going forward. Like it's an improved Detroit defense, but you're not going to find another Aiden Hutchinson over the course of the season.
Yeah. I remember I saw some like interesting stats as well, kind of derailing the topic, but interesting like football stats. I'm trying to like find where one of them was. It was like one of them was a fantasy stat, but the other one was like a Browns and Deshaun Watson stat that I thought was kind of funny. Let's see if I can log into these. But it's kind of like interesting things that I found was one of them being kind of crazy with is the Browns with Deshaun Watson on their last 26 third downs have not converted once.
It's just stunning. It's just stunning because I didn't even think it was going to be this bad. Like, I wasn't overlooking like the start of the season because I'm like, okay, it's the start of the season. It's actually his first real season. I don't know what's going on. I don't know how his players regress so badly because I get it his first season back, but like it's just astounding. It feels like the league is caught up to his play. Like, and he's not like he was such a dynamic mover, like when he played on the Texans, and like you saw it the minute he played on like it's just he's a completely different player. I think all of his like, and he wasn't a very like voracious and confident guy out there. He was like a low key like kept like he was like the perfect like quarterback you want from just like a demeanor standpoint. And how quickly he's like fallen is just baffling. Like I don't have this is probably the weirdest situation I've seen. And like only this could happen in the Browns where they don't get like their desired QB play over and over and over and over again. And I truly feel bad for the fans because from a talent perspective, since he's entered the league, like I started with Cleveland, like at the start of that tenure, that was the most talented quarterback they've had. So the money made sense to the degree of where he stood in the NFL at that point. And he's just not lived up to that since then. That's point blank. I'm saying this as like Deshaun Watson has been my favorite quarterback when he was on the Texans. He and Russell Wilson were my favorite quarterbacks to watch during that time. Like, and I have no words. I don't know how to describe how bad it's been. Like, it's just, and it's not, they can't Russell Wilson this. Like, they have to bear with him for 2 more years. So, if the ownership is patient enough with Barry and Stefanski, who should not be fired, in my opinion, despite everything, like, they've done a good job, like, building everything else around it out. They've done a phenomenal job. If I was the owner, I would keep them both, ride out the contract, and have a rookie selected this year. So by the time the contract's written out, you have a guy that's ready to play. Like you're pretty much sitting him down like an Aaron Rodgers. I would keep Winston just in case Watson gets hurt, so that way you're not forcing the rookie to play. But it's just the fact they have to pivot to that was probably not what they were expecting.
Yeah,
they were probably expecting keeping up with Cincinnati and Baltimore before the season started. Now they're suddenly at the bottom of the division, sinking fast because the Bengals are not going to stay at 2-4 forever. So, just a weird situation with that team.
It's just crazy how like unsuccessful they've been with that. But another stat, I had 3 stats. I can't remember the third one, but the second one was also that's the NFC North has like the highest point differential in the league right now. Which I thought was kind of
Minnesota's at like 63, Detroit's at like 60, the Bears are at like 47, and the Packers are like 41. It's wild.
Yeah, it's really nice. First, let me see if I can. Can you hear me still?
Yeah, I got you.
Okay, am I gone?
Yeah.
Okay, just a second.
I'm gonna. That's replaced you.
Okay, that's all good. I'm gonna see if I can find this last stat. Maybe not. Maybe I took a picture. Hopefully I did. Because I thought it was kind of like a really funny fantasy stat.
That Derrick Henry prediction didn't go too badly. He is looking great. Like I feel amazing calling that out before the season started. He's looking amazing. And J.K. Dobbins too. Like I'm really happy with that.
Yeah, overall, yeah, it's the running backs. I think like running backs in general, I think have played really well this season, which is nice.
Sean Tucker sighting too. Like, I don't think people saw that coming. They thought it was just Irving and White the entire time.
Mm-hmm.
If you can't find a stat, don't worry. We can try and come back to it later. No big deal.
Yeah, maybe I'll bring it up like next week if I can find it or something. But one. Okay, let's pop back in. You may have seen it, but it was just like a list of, it was probably on Instagram, but it was basically like they had like this like fantasy lineup that would have lost to like a single player kind of statistic, but and it was like a decently optimal lineup where it had like Dak Prescott, like Cowboys defense, Chris Olave, Travis Etienne, all those guys, and it's like this lineup would have lost to Tua Tagovailoa this week, and Tua Tagovailoa didn't even play because that fantasy lineup potentially would have scored you like -4 points or something. And it wasn't just like a bunch of like ragtag guys. It's like a bunch of legitimate guys that you would have started, which is what like made it as crazy as it was,
Yeah, I didn't expect that. I did not expect that stat coming out. Like that's insanity. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm low-key regretting not starting Caleb Williams over Jalen Hurts. That was the only reason why I lost last week. That was a tough one.
Yeah.
I think I also, for some reason, I started Ladd McConkey over Tank Dell. That was a really bad call. That was a really, really bad call too. So, yeah, now I'm 3-3 instead of 4-2, but whatever. It happens.
What can you do?
Yep. Okay, trade talks. We got some receivers on the move. First up,
yeah, we do.
Davante Adams. He goes for a round 2.5 pick, I guess you want to call it, to the Jets. So trade details goes as follows. It's a conditional 3rd round pick, and it becomes the 2nd round pick if Davante becomes either 1st or 2nd team All-Pro this season, which is pretty likely. And if he's on the active roster, should the Jets make the AFC Championship game or Super Bowl LIX. I don't know why they didn't just say AFC Championship game. Like that keeps it simple. Unless the Jets plan on trading him again. But that would make this trade weird. But
yeah.
Really unhappy circumstance there. Like, didn't like the quarterback play, hated Gardner Minshew's play. Like it's I think this is a new scenario for him. I don't think this tanks Garrett Wilson's chances at all. If anything, I think it's going to make life much, much easier on him. Like, because Mike Williams was supposed to be that this season, and he's still not like hit off the ground running. And don't let Lazard's stats fool you. He had like a very unlikely Hail Mary catch and some trust spots where Aaron Rodgers trusts him, but like they need a dynamic player in Adam. They needed a guy like that for their offense to get a jump started. So. And they looked really, really good under Todd Downing. They looked night and day from Nathaniel Hackett. So, like, I'm actually feeling this move for the Jets. This is a really, really great get, not just because of the caliber of the player, but because of how that offense is looking in the past few weeks. Now, they got to get their field goals. Like, that was just an oddball situation. They got to hit their field goals. Like, that's just point blank. But this move puts them right up there, in my opinion, offensively.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, like, once he announced that he requested for a trade, I feel like most people were thinking the Jets was going to be the move, just because, the reason he went to the Raiders in the first place was to play with Derek Carr, and then they got rid of him literally that next season, which was kind of stupid. You managed to use your quarterback to lure in a superstar receiver just to dump that quarterback off.
They could have traded him back to the Saints.
Yeah, I think that was an option. I think it was kind of like the one and done deal. I think I feel like it would have been. I don't know. I think he missed Aaron Rodgers, if anything, and he obviously has, I think, the most like connection with Aaron Rodgers just because of how many years they played together. Yeah, and so, yeah, I mean, I think this is a smart move for them. Like you said, the play calling definitely made a difference this week. But Yeah, I think Jets look like they'd be a team on the rise with the fact that like change in play calling plus having another elite receiver, another elite talent in that room. Because like Mike Williams, I think is slowly losing favor with Aaron Rodgers, especially the way like Aaron Rodgers threw him under the bus after this last week in the press conference.
I didn't realize that. That's not good.
Yeah, he said on that last interception or whatever, Aaron Rodgers like, oh, he ran the wrong route, which is kind of like in Aaron Rodgers fashion to like blame other people and not himself. It's kind of like a fit for him, but I mean, like if Aaron Rodgers doesn't like you, that's not a good thing. He already has this guy with Alvin Lazard, who I think is tied for the lead in touchdowns in the league right now for receiving. You got Garrett Wilson, who's
total aside, that Hail Mary, he's had 4 Hail Marys in his career, and that last one was just crazy. Like how that happened, unbelievable.
Yeah. So yeah, it was like that, and then you got Lazard, you got Garrett Wilson, who's kind of been your target hog, and now you got Davante Adams, who's going to be another just solid possession guy. Yeah, so I think things look like they're going to be going more positive for the Jets.
And you got some flexibility too, because you could put either Adams or Garrett Wilson in the slot anytime, and you can put both as like the Z or X receiver. Like you got a lot of flexibility in your offensive lineups now. So that's the one thing they need. They couldn't do that with Mike Williams and Lazard, like move Garrett Wilson around the formation. So it gives them a different look. I'm really excited to see like how this changes the next third of the season for them. They're still alive. They're still alive. Excuse me.
Yeah.
And they have a great defense too. But the team that just faced and lost to by 3, the Bills, they might have made the move of the move of the season here. Amari Cooper has been graded as the worst receiver in the league among average receivers this year. That's how bad the Brown situation has been.
Yeah.
And it's not his fault at all. I saw him on the waiver wire for one of my fantasy leagues because the bench depth is like 4 people, I think. So like somebody had dropped him. And I was just like, I was thinking about picking him up because I was like, they got to go to Jameis at some point. And Jameis is not going to care. Who's out there? He's just going to chuck it up. And that's going to give Amari Cooper chances. But so is Josh Allen. But Josh Allen's going to be a lot more careful with the ball. Like, and to get Amari Cooper for a 3rd and the 7th round pick and getting a 6th back, I think is an even better deal than getting Davante Adams, what you got. He's what Josh Allen needed. It's what this offense needed. Like, as much as I love Kincaid and Shakir, I think you missed that outside threat and Diggs. And I think this move solidifies that. So Amari Cooper to the Bills. Well done, Buffalo. I don't think they're all the way back because their run defense scares me a little bit. But it's just by the style of play. But offensively, they needed to make this move. And they were doing fine offensively in the first 3 games. But I think they saw, like, after those first 3 games, like, you can't keep going on like this. You need a primary receiver.
Yeah. So, I think, they definitely missed having a true one as in that receiving group, including tight end. And so I think Amari Cooper, I mean, like last season, I think he reached his career highs of around 1,250 receiving yards, which is crazy to think because he's like been, like a solid receiver throughout his career. I mean, drops have been kind of like a bit of an issue throughout his career, but like overall, he's been known as an elite route runner, like a reliable target for like the most part, with whoever he's been with. And so I think this opens a lot of things up for Dalton Kincaid and Khalil Shakir, just because now it's not like teams honing in on like Kincaid and like having like your top corner on Shakir, which I think is a pretty tall task to ask for both of these players, especially like how much of a lack of experience they both got just in general. So you got a guy like Cooper here who I think just draws a lot of targets and attention from the defense, which then, creates openings for these other guys in the offense. Also, I did find that fantasy.
like James Cook. And hello to fantasy football, Ray Davis. Didn't see that coming. Like, I mean, Ray Davis is a good player, but like I did not see him producing these stats. Like I think they found like their Zach Moss like plus guy. Like this guy is so good. And we completely forgot about Keon Coleman. What a great learning environment, Amari Cooper. Like this is probably one of the best route runners in the NFL. Just like legitimate route runners. And for a guy like Keon, who's like only winning on the boundary right now, this is perfect for him. Like how to win inside, how to gain and maintain leverage on the sideline. Like there's been a handful of plays where if Keon like positions himself correctly on the sideline, he can get both feet down, and he's missed easy completions because of that. Phenomenal catch radius too. If he picks up just a fraction of what Amari Cooper knows, like that's a missing piece of this offense. Like their lineup at the end of the year could easily be Cooper, Kincaid, Coleman, and Shakir as a receiving option. Like that is lethal. I don't think people realize that. Like Shakir's a lot better than people think. He's a lot better 2 than people think. I don't think he's a 1, but he's a really, really good 2. Keon Coleman can be a future number 1 wide receiver. And then you got Kincaid, who I think he's still in for like a top 5 season, the tight end spot.
Yeah.
The numbers haven't been there, but every time I watch him and how they're scheming up plays for him, like I've been happy.
Yeah, for sure. Also, I did find that the fantasy statistic just now on like
sweet.
The really bad lineup.
What was the lineup?
So it's Dak Prescott, Travis Etienne, Zach Moss, Chris Olave, Marvin Harrison Jr., Dallas Goedert, Calvin Ridley, Cairo Santos, and the Dallas Cowboys. And so like you look at that and you're like, oh, this is probably like maybe you got like 1 or 2 guys on bye, so maybe you're putting in Zach Moss and like Calvin Ridley or whatever as kind of like you're off your bench, and like that seems like a pretty legitimate roster, right?
Yeah.
And so here you got Dak Prescott 3.2 points, Travis Etienne negative 0.1, Zach Moss 0, Chris Olave negative 0.5, Marvin Harrison Jr., Dallas Goedert, and Calvin Ridley combined for 0 points, with Cairo Santos scoring 5, and then the Dallas Cowboys scoring negative 7 for a combined negative 0.4 points. I think if I rolled out with that roster last week, I would have quit fantasy forever.
Yeah, I'm about to say. I mean, I wouldn't start some of the guys on the list, but like that's baffling.
But like, it wouldn't surprise you to see like pretty much this at least players of this roster on like people in your league's starting lineup.
Yeah. It totally depends on the league size, like 100%. If you got like a league of like 20 people in it, I can see this being rolled out, but that's just it's just insane. Like that's I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't see myself playing the Cowboys defense against the Lions ever. Like I don't know why you think of starting that because they have like missing weapons and whatnot. I just think the total stat compared to Tua is like baffling because Tua's not even playing right now. There has been like fantasy's also luck too because like Olave getting hurt, that was kind of unlucky. I think Zach Moss came in hurt. Then Marvin Harrison also got hurt, I think, as well.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of this is due to injury. Like, Etienne, Moss, Olave,
but like
Harrison. I think Goddard also got hurt.
But like the shockers, like clearly like Dak and the Cowboys, like defense. Like that leads us into our next topic. They are 500, but I just look at their home games. Every time I tune into them, they're playing at home for some reason. And don't let the Ravens loss fool you. That was a butt whipping. And same with Detroit. Like that was really bad. That was really bad. And I get Micah didn't play in the Detroit game, but they couldn't stop a cold. It's so bad. Like I just watch them and it's bad. And when I look into the stats, it's even worse. Like total passing yards, they have 16,500. So 1,600 essentially. And their opponents have less than 1,400 passing yards. Total rushing yards, their opponents have 860, and they have the Cowboys have 463. offensive plays. For like they have 406 offensive plays. The opponents have 387. So they're having more plays, and with that, they're getting less rushing yards, less and significantly more passing yards because they're behind. The average yards per play is 5, and the opponents is 5.5. Third down conversion, they're 32 of 78, and their opponents are worse. They're 23 and 70. Looking at like their completion, like attempts and stuff, I think it's the opponent has 111 completions. Let's see here. Then attempts is 171. Interceptions is 4. And like they're just not making mistakes. They have the same sack numbers. They have more field goals, 8 less touchdowns. And let's see. They only have 2 rushing touchdowns this season, and they're -6 in their turnover ratio. I look at all those stats, and it signals to me that despite having the same number of offensive plays, despite having the same like effectiveness on average yards per play, and despite like having more sacks and more opportunities in the red zone, they have a -6 turnover ratio, and they're 3-3, and they're getting blown out. Like it was one of the most crazy stats I've seen from the offensive end. Their defense against the Lions couldn't stop anything that was schemed up. Anything like anything from like how they like the Lions could have scored 60 points if they wanted to. Like after the Aiden Hutchinson injury, I think they just let go of the gas and it's like, okay, let's try not to get hurt. But like they were running whatever they wanted. Like how do you guys think what's going on? They look a lot worse than what their record is.
Yeah. I think this is I mean, like injuries obviously have happened to the team, but like this like one of those teams where it's talent on both sides of the ball that they overcome injury. It's like the notable like injury that's been throughout the season is the Duron Bland, their CB2. But it's like, sure, even with these injuries, like schematically, like you shouldn't be struggling this much. I think this is a huge coaching issue. Where it's like, I don't know, because like I'm thinking how much has changed from last season going into this season with this team. Like, sure, Brandon Cooks has been on the IR, but like Jalen Tolbert is finally starting to play pretty good football. He had a cool sideline catch this last week. 2 weeks ago, he put up pretty good numbers. You have arguably like a maybe top 4 receiver in the league in CeeDee Lamb. So it's like you have that plus Jake Ferguson, he's a serviceable tight end. You got 3 solid receiving options. Dak Prescott, you paid a boatload of money to, which I think this all falls into like the whole paying a ton of quarterback money to guys that don't necessarily deserve it, but like you got to because like what other option do you have?
But he played well last season though.
He did play well. He was like a borderline MVP. So like what like I'm just thinking like how could everything change so much in one off season to go from
and they had a chance to get Derrick Henry. They knew the running game was a problem, and I like Rico Dotto a lot. He's coming into his own now, but they had no excuse to not go after Derrick Henry. That's continuing a subject, and like Derrick Henry, like you could tell he held that against him because imagine Derrick Henry behind their offensive line. It's just it's. I mean, we looked at their offseason. It's like, okay, why is Dallas not doing anything? They had the opportunity to. And I like the Mike Zimmer hire, but they did nothing to avoid like losing so many pass rushers that they did. So the pass rushers that they did have, once they're hurt now, they're struggling there. Like it's just shot. Like, and Dak Prescott has regressed too. Like there's a significant end zone, red zone play where he basically throws the wrong type of ball to like CeeDee Lamb. Like the defenders, like even with him with leverage, he throws like he kind of drives the ball to him in like a 4-yard compressed area where it could have easily been intercepted. I think it was. I think it was by a Steelers player. And like there's a video clip of CeeDee Lamb like going up to him and like talking to him about it. Basically, I think it's blown up. I think he's clearly saying like jump ball, throw the jump ball, because considering the leverage, considering the height advantage he has, that's the best option. And Dak doesn't do that. Like it's the decision making, and it's a combination of things that's really had them where they are.
Yeah. I know, like, obviously, I think it's overblown as well, but like, I know a lot of like fans of just football in general talking about like the Cowboys as a team just to blow up with like trading a lot of players away and just kind of like reorchestrating just like a rebranding almost of the team. I mean, obviously they're still 3-3. There's room to improve, but like, you know, if things don't improve and they just have like this really sucky year this season, I don't know. I feel like CeeDee Lamb just may be a candidate of like wanting to be traded away. I don't like, and it's just kind of like, because that's how the way most receivers are, is like when they don't get the type of play time with yard or amount of targets and catches as they want, they typically want to change the scenery or something to change. Seems like with like every receiver. Oh, with Calvin Ridley though, wasn't it crazy? He had 8 targets and 0 catches. Like, that's nuts. Will Levis, jeez, man.
Every time I hear about Will Levis, I just look at the pictures of the memes. Like, he has a meme for every game. Like, how is that possible? Like, it's just crazy.
Bro, the one where he's like on his knees and he's like, "Oh no,"
yeah,
like the funniest bit,
dude. I know. But like, back to the Cowboys, like the one thing I would do with them is establish a system. Like, establish a system of how you're going to operate. Give Dak confidence early in the game. Give him easy reads, bootlegs, rollouts of Ferguson, Tolbert. Give them easy routes to run. Get CeeDee Lamb like 2 or 3 touches the first drive. Just do it. Just do it. And then try to open up the run game with different concepts. I don't think they're trying with different concepts. They're not trying with motion enough. If they had Clint Kubiak on their team, I'd feel a lot better about like how they operate offensively as far as like what they present. Because Shane Baldwin, for all the slack he was given, like at the beginning of the season by Bears fans, he does a phenomenal job of personnel changes, but also utilizing personnels in sequence. Bobby Slowick does a great job using motion. Like, that's an amazing trademark of his. Kyle Shanahan, like almost the inventor of motion offense. Like, I don't think they're doing a good job schematically deceiving defenses and influencing defenders, but also their defense. It seems like they just can't. And I know they don't have the personnel with Deron Bland out, but like Javon Diggs, how are you gonna get cooked, man? Like, that was just bad. Like, Jameson Williams like just outright cooked him, and Jameson Williams is a fantastic player, but like for Trevon, like, they had so much confidence in him that like they let Stephon Gilmore go to the Vikings. Like, they could have kept Stephon for all they needed, and like it's like he's been like this since his rookie year. He plays up and down, and he tends to get beat on like double moves or corner routes. Like, it's everybody on the team. It's not just one person.
Yeah.
So, I mean, from schematically on the offensive end, develop a system. I think from the defensive end, I would have more disguises and more like shell coverages, but also like manufactured rush. Because right now, rushing 4 is probably not going to work, given that they've had so many lost items on the defensive end, like from the defensive end spot. So trust one of your linebackers to make a play. Like put guys on the A gap starting out and then like tinker with them blitzing or like dropping out. Like, make the offense think about like, oh, what are they going to do? Are they going to stay or are they going to go? Make the offensive line communicate. And you're going to have like more effective plays than not. So that's just a couple things from both ends they could do. Kavontae Turpin looks like the best player on the team. Like, by far, he's the best player on the team. He's kept them in it so many times. Like, and he's had to play offense. He's had to play special teams, but like, no disrespect to Turpin, but like, he cannot be the best player on your team given all the money you shelled out to those guys.
Right?
What would you do? Like, what would you do to the team?
With the team, like, well, this is like currently, this is definitely a team built to be a heavy passing team. like sure, like Rico Dowdle, he's like starting to find his rhythm, but like I wouldn't be surprised if they bring in another running back to be the guy next during the offseason, for next year.
They had Derrick Henry. They could have got Derrick Henry.
Yeah. It's just so weird how like passive they were in free agency in general. I think like I don't know, like I've like it almost feels like trading for a running back would be in the picture, but it's like which running back are you like? Which running back's even on the market,
Yeah.
But yeah. I think just like fully committing to being like,
man. They need Ashton bad.
Yeah. Yeah, so I just like it really is committing. I think just needing to commit to the pass game. You got a couple, like you said, Kevontae Turpin. He's kind of shown up pretty well. You got an elite receiver with CeeDee Lamb. Jalen Tolbert's finding his own. Jake Ferguson's good. Rico Dowdle's even okay as a receiving back as well, And so it's like you can commit to this like strong pass attack. Kind of similar to the Buccaneers, where like I'd say, I mean, their running backs have definitely been more efficient than the Cowboys, but like obviously their strength is with their pass attack, and like even like you look at last game, even with multiple interceptions with Baker Mayfield, even though like two of them weren't even his fault, because of how like just committed they were to just throwing it down the field, grinding it out through the pass game, they're able to stay in games and just absolutely dominate their opponents. I think the Cowboys need to adopt that philosophy of just like, don't be afraid to keep throwing it. If Dak needs to have like 40 passes a game just to like get his playmakers the ball, like so be it. And like,
I don't know. I think there are ways you can operate with the run. Like Turpin is a threat whenever he has the ball in his hands.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you motion him from one side to the other on a running play, that's going to influence the defense. They have to know where he is, or keep CD in the backfield and like have like Dowdle or Elliott as the fullback and run some fullback dot. Like change up how you're running and your alignments. Like what you try. Like look at what the Rams do. They just run like they're notorious for running jet sweep inside outside zones. Like or like get these guys like in schematic situations to win in the running game, and maybe get Dak involved like from a running game perspective, so you have one more guy to account for, lessens the guys in the box for the running back, and then build off the bootleg. I think they really do that a lot more. In addition to the pass, like their pass is going to be more effective, and maybe more play action might help with the running game too, because if you're in shotgun all the time, you're not confusing the linebackers. The linebackers know like their assignments. But like if you confuse the linebackers, get them sucked in like vertically, like you have opportunities that are a lot easier over the middle because of that. So I just think they need to take a smarter approach.
Yeah, but I think like to commit to those play actions and like get the run game going, you need to like show how much you're willing to pass the ball. And so that's with my philosophy there, because I mean like the Cowboys, they're averaging 77 rush yards a game as a team, and 41 of those are from Rico Dowdle. So it's like your lead running back is averaging 41 a game, and the rest of your team on average is getting an additional 30 yards a game. And I feel like sure, you could implement other rushing strategies, but it's like your guys are elite receiver. You have elite receivers on your team. Like, just play into that. And it's like
I'm not doubting that, but like do it on play action. Start out with play action, and then like on the next first down series, go run. That way you're keeping that defense guessing, because they're like, okay, the quarterback is going like under the gun. Like we don't know if he's going to hand it off or pass it. you need to have the opposing linebackers communicate. You have to. You have to do that because if as soon as you get them confused, you open up all the middle of the field that Ferguson and Lamb like succeed in. You're going to make life easier on everybody if you do that. Because what's Lamb's go-to? It's the slant. Like he's really good at the slant. And then Ferguson is good like anywhere in the intermediate or the flats and stuff. Like you can do some stuff around that. And like Turpin's such a threat too. Like I feel like whenever they try to do like a trick play, they don't do a good job disguising it either. And then they end up stuck. So it's like I think just a smarter philosophy in general on how they get to those runs, passes, and like play actions will benefit them badly.
Yeah. Just coaching.
Okay. That wraps it up for us. For all we know, Bill Belichick will be the coach of the Cowboys next if this keeps up. But we're all saying this, and they're 500, so they're in the thick of it somehow. I don't know how, but they are. So with that, thank you guys for watching. Our Instagram page is Corstian. Wait for it. Right here. I'm on that mission. I was trying to psych you out that time. So yeah, follow that right now. YouTube channel is I'm on a mission, 3 words. Yeah. Stay tuned for next week. Cowboys update, maybe more trade updates. We don't know, but it should be a fun time. And yeah, we'll see you guys later.
Peace. Yeah.